Masechet Cardin, page 23. Today we're going to deal with variety of cases of collection, or the way that they try to circumvent or artify the system, permitted or not. Here are some examples. Father commit himself to backup to be co-signer of Ketubah. Ketubah, let's say husband, wife, Reuven and Tamar. While they're about to get married, he writes a marriage contract and he commits himself to a certain amount of money in case of divorce. The father was the one who backed up the signing, being a co-signer. The financial situation of the couple deteriorated. The father did not support his son. The question is, it was a notion, an idea of the son to divorce, but quote unquote, his wife, and part of that idea is to collect the fund that owe her toward the marriage contract, toward the Ketubah, and since the husband doesn't have the money, then indirectly they force the father, the living father of that son who was co-signer for that Ketubah, to pay the money to her, and since he's not a Kohen, he afterward can quote unquote get back her as a wife. Is that okay or not? Or if husband commit himself to give away the estate to temple treasury, and then all of a sudden they realize that nothing left, so he tried to divorce her, and by having a marriage contract that pre-existing the consecration of the estate, she can go after the temple treasury and collect the money owed her toward the marriage contract, and this way she will have the estate and he will have the ability to have her back in a way. Obviously the rabbis have objections to that, and in quite few of them the rabbis strongly opposed it. So here's the Mishnah. Scenario 1. Hamakdish nechasav והייתה עליו כתובת אישה. This fellow Reuven, he, for all kind of reason, decided to consecrate the property. But the Rambam in Cardin expanded that and said that it was the entire estate that for some reason he decided to give to the temple treasury. The issue is that it was an outstanding debt, applies to the Reuven and Tamar, just names, in their marriage contract, and for whose repayment once property is lien. So Rabbi Eliezer אומר כשיגרשנה ידו הנאה. So Rabbi Eliezer said, in order to divorce take place between Reuven and Tamar, it has to be a stipulation, it has to be precondition in order not to abuse or circumvent the system, and that basically to put a block, to put a something that will never be able to have her back as his wife, even if he's not Kohen. Why? Because we are suspected that the reason Reuven is divorcing Tamar, it's not because there's a substantial reason for the divorce, that it's sincere, but in order to collect money from the temple treasury fund, and then he have her back and enjoy the estate that basically consecrated. That's the way Rashi and Rabbeinu Gershom explained to us. In a way, Rabbi Eliezer hold that he may regret it, mitcharet al hakdesh, he regret his donation to temple treasury, and therefore he wants the money back. Rabbi Yoshua omer eino tzarich. Rabbi Yoshua says no, he doesn't need to do it. So later the Gemara expand on that. כיוצא בדבר אמר רבי שמעון בן גמליאל, אף הערב לאישה בכתובתה. Here, if you have a co-signer on the Ketubah, the husband Reuven commit himself to Tamar to X amount of money, and in order to approve it, for all kind of reasons, such as he doesn't have the money, such as the other party wants to have assurance, or all kind of reasons, he took somebody else that being a co-signer for that Ketubah. Meaning, in case of her divorce or being a widow, she will be able to collect from the husband or from his estate, and that fellow, outside fellow, commit himself to be co-signer in case there's no money to collect from him. Obviously, there is much more to discuss, which we're going to do later. So he said, "Af ha'arev la'isha b'ktubata v'haya ba'ala megarsha yedirena hana'a." So therefore, even in the case of a guarantor of a woman for her marriage contract, and her husband was divorcing her and could not pay the debt, the husband should vow yadirena hana'a, should make a vow that benefit from her is forbidden to him. שמא יעשה קנוניה על נכסים של זה ויחזיר את אשתו. Lest, this is a tricky situation, he and his wife engage in collusion and collect payment from the property of the guarantor, and there, right then, the husband will remarry his wife, and they have the benefit of money from that co-signer. Now the Gemara goes to the Tama Machloket to explain the difference of view between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua. B'mai kamiflige. What exactly they disagree, Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua? Rabbi Eliezer סבר אדם עושה קנוניה על הקדש. Amazing. Rabbi Eliezer hold that unfortunately it is a serious possibility that a person can have a collusion beyond something that is consecrated to a temple estate, even a temple treasury, and for this reason he divorced his wife. Ad kedei kach. Imagine a person have a collusion with his wife in order to circumvent and get money from the temple treasury, and he does that in order to, I meant, how far can people go according to this view? Rabbi Yoshua savar ein adam oseh knunya al ha'ekdesh. Rabbi Yoshua holds that a person will not engage in collusion against the temple treasury. Okay, so in short, logically speaking, Rabbi Yoshua hold that it's so far from mainstream mindset of people to that a person can do such a arama, such a trick in order to get money that it already belongs to the temple treasury. If it's a regular person, so here Rabbi Yoshua said it's possible, lachshosh leha'arama, it's possible that people can do collusion like that. But after he donated it to a temple treasury, then he will do that. Anyway, ve'ela, hada maravuna. So the Gemara asks, but if that's the case, consider what Rav Huna hold. שכיב מרע שהקדיש כל נכסיו, ואמר מנה לפלוני בידי נאמן. חזקה אין עושה קנוניה על ההקדש. This is a sugya that we study in several places in the Shas. Our explanation is based on both Yad Binyamin and Sfat Emet. Here we talk about case of Shchiv Mera. Shchiv Mera is a person close to his end of his life. He's in a deathbed, very ill, and the assumption is that he will not be able to make it for long. At that time, people behave differently. People does all kind of things. One of them is a situation that the person consecrated his estate. So here you have a person who very close to the end of his life, and he take his estate and he consecrated it, and he said, make a statement, and he said, Maneh lifnoni biyadi, meaning from the estate that I consecrated, give X amount of money to Mr. Shimon so-and-so, for example, since I owe him money. we hold that he is credible, he's liable, what he said it's really truthful, and the Hekdesh, the temple treasury, put aside that amount and give it to that person. Why? We hold that a person, we have the assumption that a person does not engage in collusion against the temple treasury. So what you see here, we're not concerned that the person did some sneaky, tricky deal with that individual in order to gain money from the consecrated estate. That basically conflicted, contradicted to what we said earlier. Lema ketanaei amra leshmatei. So you can say that Rav Huna states this halacha when it's come to the subject of a dispute between Ta'naim, and therefore his view is not match of what Rabbi Eliezer said. Now, Mutzal Me'esh, Sfat Emet, Yad Binyamin challenge this question and challenge the conjunction between the idea of a person being untruthful to the Gviyat Ktuba Me'akdesh Kadin, to collect the marriage contract from the consecrated estate the way it should be. But anyway, the Gemara said, Lo, what Rav Huna hold by all the Tanaim, Ad kan lo pligei ela bebari. The disputation between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua applies to a circumstance when the husband is healthy, meaning husband that divorcing his wife in our Mishnah. So we assume that there are different avenues that he gains something out of the Ketubah's commitment, and therefore Rabbi Eliezer hold that we should be concerned for Knunya. Shita Mekubetzet expand on that, and he said that also a healthy person that consecrated his entire estate and then he admitted that he owes money to a certain individual, according to Rabbi Eliezer, he is not credible, and he will not be able to collect that sum of money until he proves that his point, like anybody else who come and ask for some property or some money from the estate of the temple treasury. Aval bishchiv nira. However, when we're dealing with a case of someone who is in a deathbed, meaning that we assume that is no way he will be able, most probably, can't say 100%, but most probably he will not be able to derive any personal benefit from that consecrated item. Divrei hakol, everyone hold, en adam osek knunya al haekdesh, a person who is not involved in collusion against the temple treasury. My ta'ama, the reason for that. So they said, en adam chote velo lo. So since he will soon die, he does not really stand to gain anything from his statement, and a person committed a sin only for his own benefit, not for the benefit of others. Ika de amrei. There are another option that say that when you speak about a healthy person, bevari dechule alma lo pligei, the adam osek knunya laekdesh. A healthy person, everyone agrees on the question of whether or not person would engage in collusion against the temple treasury, which is, there is an agreement that one must be concerned that the person may engage in collusion. But here in our Mishnah, we're speaking about the case shel neder shehudar berabim kamifligei. Here we talk about a vow administered by the rabbinic court, and this is the disputation. Mar Savar, Rabbi Yoshua hold that even neder shehudar barabim, in public, yesh lo hafara, can have to this vow a nullification, and as a result there is no use in requiring the husband to take a vow even in public, as the halachic authority can later dissolve it. Umar Savar and Rabbi Eliezer said, Ein lo hafara. So hafara, it's not the usual way. It's different. Since it made in public, so the Rashba in Gittin 35 said that it's not, the nullification does not have that option. So therefore the rabbinic court administered a vow in public to prevent collusion. There's a question over there in Gittin 35 if what exactly the Rabbi means, if it's 3, if it's 10. Anyway, here is one of the rare places that instead of saying hatara, they said hafara. Anyway, והכה בנדר שהודר על דעת רבים כמפליגי. ואלא ההד אמר המימר נדר שהודר ברבים יש לו הפרה, על דעת רבים אין לו הפרה, לימה כתנאי אמרי לשמעתי. So let us say that a Meimar stated this halacha with regard to a matter that is subject to dispute between the Tanaim. ותו, and furthermore, רבי יהושע אומר אינו צריך ואינו מועיל מבעי עלי. Rabbi Yeshua said that you don't need to take a vow. He should say it is ineffective. That should be the proper stating. So what Rabbi Yeshua said that the husband doesn't need to take a vow, it's not because you don't need to have a vow, but because it's ineffective. אלא הכה בשאלה דהקדש כמפליגי. The requests the dissolution of a vow involving consecrated property. So here Rabbi Eliezer hold that one may not request the dissolution of a vow involving consecrated property. Versus Rabbi Yoshua hold that such a vow may be dissolved, and therefore there is no concern for a husband to collude with his wife. Ve'atanya, what we learn in the Braita, hamakdish nechasav ve'ayta alav kdubat isha. If one who consecrated his property and there was an outstanding debt of the marriage contract of his wife, Rabbi Eliezer אומר, כשהוא מגרשה גידו הנאה. Rabbi Eliezer hold that when he divorced her, he shall vow that the benefit from her is forbidden to him. So that basically can clearly prevent collusion. רבי יהושע אומר אינו צריך, is no need according to רבי יהושע, ואמר רבי אלעזר ברבי שמעון, הן דברי בית שמאי, הן דברי בית הלל, which means the view of Rabbi Eliezer matched the view of Beit Shammai, and what Rabbi Yeshua said matched the view of Beit Hillel. שבית שמאי אומרים הקדש טעות הקדש. That because Beit Shammai hold that consecration that one perform in mistake is effective as a consecration, and as a result one cannot request the solution of his consecration due to circumstances that unfolded on the grounds that he did not mean to make a vow. ובית הלל אומרים הקדש טעות אינו הקדש. But Hillel said that when you have a case of consecration that one perform in error is not consecration, and therefore one may request the dissolution of his consecration. And the Mishnah said, וכן היה רבן שמעון בן גמליאל אומר, אף הערב לאישה בכתובתה והיה בעלה מגרשה ידירנה הנאה. So here is a fascinating story. I'm sure that many of you heard the story, know the story. It's a lot of comment. If you have time, we'll go to the Rambams. Moshe bar Atzri arva dechalate hava. It was a fellow by the name of Moshe bar Atzri that he was a guarantor for the marriage contract of his daughter-in-law. ורב הונא ברי צורבה מרבנן הבה ודחיקה למילתא. So here he have his son, whose name is Rav Huna. He was a Torah scholar, and he was pressed for fun. Mefarshim explained that unfortunately the father Moshe bar Atzri did not support his son. There is a question, how far, there is a mitzvah of tzedakah. Anyway, אמר אביי, ליקרא דנאסווי עצה לרב הונא דלגרש לדוד הוא, ותדבק כתובתה מאבוה, ולהדרה מהדרי. Is a trick to do it sometimes with people who are greedy or all kind of reasons. You know what you do? Someone should advise Rav Huna that he should divorce his wife. So since he divorced his wife, he needs to pay her the amount that owed for the marriage contract. And since his father, Moshe Baratzri, is what? The co-signer. So therefore they collect the money. And after they collect the money, now they have the money, they can remarry. And they can live from the money that she gained out of the ketubah. אמר לרבה, ask Abaye, והענן ידורנה אתנן. But we learn in the Mishnah that in such a case, he shall vow that benefit from her is forbidden to him. If so, you put Rav Huna in a situation that he cannot remarry her. ואביי, אתו כל דמגרש בבית דינה מגרש. And the Gemara explains that Abaye will argue is that to say that anyone who divorces in rabbinic court, let Rav Huna divorce his wife out of the court, so that he will not be forced to take a vow and he will therefore allow to remarry her. So, the end of the story, לבסוף הגלי מיתה דכהנה turns out that Rav Huna was what? Was a Kohen. And Torah tells us in Vayikra 21:7 that Kohen prohibited to marry a divorcee, even his own. So therefore, Rav Huna could not use the advice of Abaye anyway. Amar Abaye, oy, batar anya azlan yuta. He said that the poverty followed the poor, which is it's difficult to remove a poor person from a state of poverty. The Gemara in Bava Kama in 92 said that the way that was structured, כי לא יחדל אביון מקרב הארץ, that the circumstance always put them in a position that they're in a state of poverty. ומי אמר אביי הכי? ואמר אביי, זהו הרשע ערום, which is the really wicked person, זה המשיא עצה למכור בנכסים כרבן גמליאל. One who give advice to someone to sell the estate, the property that he received from someone who stipulated the property should pass to a second beneficiary upon the death of the first. And this is followed the view of Rabban Shimon Gamliel, who maintains that one seller valid and a second beneficiary may not remove the property from the possession of the buyer. So if Abaye considers this individual as wicked for advising one to act against the intentions of a benefactor, how could he suggest that Rav Huna should exert money from the guarantor on this situation? So I said, Brei Shani v'tzuva merabanan Shani. The Gemara said that when one is a guarantor for his son, it is different. As he will forgive his son and acting in this manner, and his son will in any case inherit the property. And moreover, they said, when this is performed for the benefit of Torah scholar, so it's different. Why? Because it's the proper to assist him that he may continue to be involved in study Torah. Meaning that the husband is the son of the guarantor and also Talmid Chacham, and the father is not supported him. So the Shulchan Aruch in Yoredea in Reish Memchet comment that midin mitzvat tzedakah, Moshe Baratzri needs to support his son. Because the general rule is if you have a poor person who press for fun and he has a relative who can support him, you don't use the community charity fund to support him, but you go to that relative and somehow put him in a position that he has to support him. So the question is, why is that? But anyway, it's a Yad Rama and Mutzal Me'esh that expand on that. Now the Gemara challenge another part of that story. ותיפוק לי דערב דכתובה לא משתעבד. And also let Abaye deduce that such a course of action is ineffective because when you have a guarantor of a marriage contract, is not legally responsible to pay marriage contract. Later the Gemara expand why, but the assumption here the Gemara is that the transaction which in inconclusive consent does not affect acquisition, which is one who commits to pay a future obligation that depends upon the fulfillment of very specific conditions without performing an act of acquisition does not conclusively result the benefit obligated, and the transaction is invalid. Nevertheless, the sages said that the guarantor of a debt does resolve to become responsible for payment, as a creditor loans money to a debtor based on the commitment of a guarantor. That's Gemara in Bava Batra 173b. So when it's come to someone who is a guarantor for a marriage contract, the sages said that he does not become responsible as he committed only in order to facilitate the marriage and did not intend to become responsible. Also, the woman did not lose anything in exchange for which the guarantor will have accepted responsibility. Page 23b, the Gemara answered and said Moshe bar Atzri was not a regular guarantor to his daughter-in-law, but Kablan Hava was in a way a unique, exceptionally different. He was a guarantor who accepted unconditional responsibility for the payment of the marriage contract. So the Rashbam in Bava Batra 173, and you see other Mefarshim, expand on the difference between Kablan Arev and the regular Kablan. Obviously it's not for now, but if you want to read more in Bava Batra 174, the Gemara expand of the condition when is a Kablan Arev and when is not. So anyway, so that's different. It's not just someone who just put a little signature and word and just want to show a good feeling or good faith. This is a serious commitment. So the Gemara challenged and said, wait a second. Hanicha leman de'amar kablan af al gav delet lenechasim lelove mishta'abed. This is good for one who said that when the one who is kablan, even though the debtor has no property that at the time of the loan, nevertheless the kablan is responsible for payment. Ela leman de'amar itle mishta'abed leitle lo mishta'abed. It's all depend upon. Soon you see it. Rashi explained, but that it's all depend upon the situation if he has property or otherwise he is not. Ma'ika lemeima. So because Rav Huna owned no property, the son of Moshe bar Atzri, Rav Huna, not own any property, how could payment of the marriage contract be collected from his father Moshe bar Atzri? So there's two explanations. One is Ibait Ema, Rav Huna Havale ve'ishtaduf. Rav Huna really at the time of the marriage he has an estate, but unfortunately that estate somehow become blighted, ruined. So ishtaduf is usually shidafon, who here it means that all kind of way of blighted. So v'ba'itema abba legabei brei sha'abu de'meshabed nafshei. That Rashbam Bava Batra 174 said that not only kirachem aval banim, but the love between the father and the sons, so he goes the extra mile to subjugate himself, and I know people like that, even he doesn't have an estate. The itmar, arev di ktuba, a person that become guarantee to the ktuba of his fellow. Divrei hakol lo mishtabed. Everyone said that he is not really guarantor. Why? Because everyone said that the guarantor doesn't mean really to subjugate himself to that of the ktuba. He wants just to help the couple to get married. So therefore, he does that. But all the Rashi explained both in Gittin 49 and others that it's all good and well if he wasn't Arev Kablan, he was just a regular guarantor. Arev deval chov v'kablan de ktuba pligei. But when it's come to this type of situation that you have a Arev, a guarantor of someone who owes money, or kablan of marriage contract, these two circumstances, there is a side to say that he may commit himself to that. There is a view that says that if the borrower have some estate, so then it's basically subjugated, otherwise not. Even the notion that said is a view that said that even though the debtor or the husband does not have property, the guarantor becomes responsible for payment of the obligation. When I got married, at that time they tried to build settlement, did all kind of things. So one of the very unbelievable Choshuv Rabboni, may rest in peace, asked me to go and speak to someone, and Baruch Hashem I was successful. I went to that Yishuv, Ariel, they just built it. And it turns out that Choshuv Rav tried to help that fellow who was not even religious to build his home and everything, and he was guarantor. And now the banks is after that Choshuv Rav. And after speaking to that person and more, he went back and released that rabbi from his responsibility, and he took the achrayut of that. But it happens sometimes that, like in that case, he was guarantor out of good faith of helping someone, but not intent to really being part of lean against him. The halakha is that in all these cases, even though the principal does not have a property on his own, the guarantor still become responsible for paying the obligation. Levad, excluding me'arev diktuba, the one guarantor for the ktuba, the afal gav de itlei lo mishtabed ma'itama, mitzvah ka'avid velo midei de chasra. So the reason is simply that he did not do it for anything but mitzvah. He agrees to become a guarantor only so that the woman will consent to the marriage, but does not actually involve by any mean and resolve to become responsible, and the woman not lose anything in exchange for which the guarantor will have accepted responsibility, as the husband did not borrow money from her. A story, how Gavra de Zabninu lenichse v'kagarsha de ledveitu. It was a certain person that sold his property, and later, when he divorced his wife, he had no property with which to pay the marriage contract. שלחה רב יוסף בריידר רבא לקמי דרב פאפא ערב תנן, הקדש תנן, לוקח מהו. So he said, when the wife's marriage contract is paid by a guarantor, we learn that the Mishnah, the husband vows that the benefit from her forbidden to him. In the same way, when she collects the marriage contract from consecrated property, so the Mishnah tells us that the husband takes such a vow. So what do you do when she collects payment from a buyer? Amar lei, Rav Papa answered, Tana ki rochla nechshe v'nei zil. Rav Papa said to him, should the Tana have continued recalling cases like a peddler? The peddler, in those days, he used to announce all of his wares. So the halacha is that the same in a case of a buyer, as the identical reasoning applies despite the fact that the Tana neglected to mention this case. The sages of Nehardea Amrei, the Tnan, when we learn the Mishnah, we learn the Mishnah. The Lotnan, what we don't learn the Mishnah, we don't learn the Mishnah. So that halacha applies solely to those cases that mentioned in the Mishnah. You cannot derive from them cases from collection gviya milokeach. Amar Misharshi Amatama Denardei. He asked, what's the reason of the Chachmei Nahardea? Granted, when the payment of the marriage contract is collected from consecrated property, the husband must make the vow due to the importance of maintaining the profit of the temple treasury. בישלם ההקדש משום לרווח להקדש, ערב נע ומצווה דעבד, אלא לוקח מידע ידע דכל חד וחד איקה לכתובה. But he knows that each person that married to woman has the obligation of paying the ketubah. It's a normal marriage term is a minor zilven izvon. So why should we go and purchase a field from a husband when there is a lien on it due to the marriage contract? Who the afsid anafshei? The answer is, it is he who caused himself to lose out, because it's unreasonable to prevent the husband from remarrying his wife merely for the benefit of the buyer. Yerushalmi in Tractate Nazir, page 5, and Yefei Enaim and Maaseh Choshev expand when exactly there are cases that can impose upon a husband to take this vow of Nedirut Hana'ah mi'ishto. But I would like to conclude with the Rambam based on the story of Moshe Bar Atzri. So again, Moshe Bar Atzri have a son that have no income, Rav Huna. But unfortunately, Moshe Bar Atzri, his father, did not support his son. Now, since the father, Moshe Bar Atzri, obligated as a guarantor to the ketubah of his son, Rav Huna, so Abaye thought, give him an advice that Rav Huna should divorce his wife, and then when she needs to collect the ketubah is no money, and since the father, Moshe Bar Atzri, is a guarantor, then they get the money, and therefore they have money to live, and he can remarry her. Later on you see that it was the issue of Kohen and more, but the Rashba, in Shelot V'Tshuvot, Chelek Gimel, Reish Tzadik Bet, the chapter 292, challenged why Abaye here wants to give such advice to his son that's usually you don't do. And why it's good to do in such a tricky, sneaky, circumvent way to get the money to pay for the ketubah from the father. So he explained, based on the Rambam and other sources, that the father has an obligation to help his son even if he's independent married, midin tzedakah, that there is obligation, that this is his son, he needs to support him. Well, especially if the son is pressed for fun, is Tamid Chacham, the father is a very wealthy person. And he cannot say, oh, let my son use the charity fund or other funds while the father have the resources. So therefore we are more strict on the father and try to find all different ways to get money from the father. So the Rashba asks if that's why Abaye needs to come from the back door toward collection of the fund from the estate against the marriage contract. Why the Bedin do not go straight to the father and said, Bedin Tzedakah, you have the obligation to support your Tamid Chacham son. So the answer, one of the idea the Rashba said is that obligation applies from Moshe Bar Atzri to Rav Huna, to his son, but not to his son, a daughter-in-law and the grandchildren. Meaning, the obligation, the guarantee was the father to support his son for getting married to her, but not to her and the future grandchildren. So therefore, Abaye find a special way to circumvent this problem for the entire family and not specifically to Rav Huna the son. But those who want to see more is the Rashba, שאלות ותשובות חלק ג' סימן ריש צדיק ב'.